Pollution. Lagos State is one of the most polluted cities in the world. In fact, World Bank did a research in 2018 and said, I think about 13,000 people die as a result of pollution in Lagos State every year. And Lagos State loses millions of dollars to pollution every year. And this pollution is from three main sources. Number one is from landmass, like we're seeing. The other one is generator. About 50% of energy generated in Lagos State is from generator. And like we all know, this generator emits a whole lot of CO2 that pollutes the environment. And also our vehicle. A whole lot of vehicles apply in Lagos State every day. Lagos State is one of the few, or Lagos City is one of the few cities that has a population of over 15 million people without a clear and nice rail system. So imagine a state of like 24 million people without a rail system, the amount of cars on the road every day, and most of these cars are more than 15 years old, that their emission capacity is extremely high. So just imagine the amount of CO2 that is being generated and emitted from cars in Lagos State every day. Pollution, land pollution, impact of pollution on health, about 25% of health disease or the health disease deaths are attributed to air pollution. About 43% of lung disease and lung cancer deaths are attributed to air pollution. And about 24% of all stroke deaths are attributed to air pollution. Yeah, this statistics is from World Bank. Illness and premature death due to ambient air pollution caused losses of $2.1 billion to Lagos State alone in the year 2018. And Lagos State lost about 11,200 premature deaths as a result of air pollution by the same report by World Bank. And WHO reported that the concentration of polluted gas in Lagos State is almost 6 times recommended standard for the year 2018. That shows the level of pollution that we're having in the states. Yeah, sea level rise. This picture shows the cities in different parts of the world and their level of sea level rise. And we can see Lagos State having around 5th level of, as in the impact of sea level rise that each city will have, the impact Lagos State is having is on the 5th. That shows that Lagos State is greatly exposed to the impact of sea level rise. Because as we speak, Lagos State is below sea level. And the projection by the year 2100 is that the sea will increase or rise by between 1 to 3 meters. So between 1 to 3 meters by the year 2100, compared to the demography of Lagos State, which is about 24 million people, and the 7th fastest growing city in the world. Projection has it that by 2100, Lagos State will be the most populated city in the world, not in Africa. So if with that demography that we're having the most populated city in the world by 2100, and we are having a landmass that is not increasing, and we are having a sea level rise of between 1 to 3 meters, that is a very scary statistics. And if that statistics continue, that means a place like we're standing now may be submerged by the year 2100. So what are the important factors leading to emergence of infectious diseases? These are factors that can cause infectious disease in any city or in any location. And these factors, if you look at it, overpopulation, pollution, or population movement, water and sanitation, land use change, climate, and drug resistance. The interesting thing about all these factors is that almost all these factors are factors that are present in Lagos State, or factors that are affecting Lagos as a city, whether overpopulation, population movement, number of people that move into Lagos State every day. Water and sanitation is a big issue in Lagos State. Changing land use, climate change that we're talking about, and drug resistance. So all these factors affect or enhance the emergence of infectious diseases. What does this say? This says clearly that Lagos State is a city that is highly susceptible to infectious disease, and we have to work together to see that we prevent or we continue to do surveillance and control to prevent the emergence of infectious diseases in this city. Impact of climate change on health. You have different impacts on the air pollution, water, the weather, pollution, sea level rise and their impacts. Part that includes injury, mental impacts, malaria increase in emerging infectious diseases, cholera, waterborne, and all these issues affect human health as a result of climate change. This is a diagram showing the increase in the occurrence of Lassa fever in the last 30 years, I think. And we can see that in the last 10 years, there's a sharp increase in the occurrence of Lassa fever. And why do we have such sharp increase in the last 30 years? Lassa fever is caused by rodents. And we can see that in recent years, land use change, destruction, are destroying the habitat of wild animals and rodents all over the world, including Lagos City. And there's an increase in connection or a meeting point between humans and animals. And because we are having more of these rodents that are supposed to be in the wild or their natural habitats coming to human habitat, this increase in meeting points between the two is transmitting diseases that are usually supposed to be resident in the wildlife to human beings. So we're having increase in the occurrence of infectious diseases like Lassa fever, Ebola, and most of these emerging infectious diseases as a result of increase in connection or meeting point between human and animals. The impact of climate change on animals, like I said, not even almost, every living organism on the surface of the earth is affected by climate change. So it's not just a human issue, it's a global issue. And with animals, it affects increase in temperature, affects food consumption, it reduces their immunity, it affects availability of food. Because climate change leads to loss of food. We are not having increase in drought and things like that. And with increasing drought, the availability of food reduces. And there's now increase in competition between human and animals for food. Because now animals, about especially non-ruminant animals like poultry and things like that, about 60% of their feed is maybe maize. So if the production of maize reduces by about 50%, that means naturally the amount of maize that is available for animal feed reduces drastically. So that makes the cost of production very high with the animal, or the cost of available feed for animals will become very low. So these are the issues climate change, or the impact of climate change on animals too. So we've tried to discuss the impact, how climate change affects human beings, animals, and our environment. But we are not here to just talk about the impact. It's very important for us to talk about the solution, because the solution is what we're thinking about. That is why this conference was organized. And one of the concepts that we're discussing, or we are going to be discussing this evening, is the concept of One Health as a solution to emerging health challenges, both in the human, animal, and environmental world. And what is One Health? One Health is the integration of human, animal, and plant health and our shared environment. It is becoming clear that man cannot live in isolation of his environment. And for man to be able to live well and coordinate his own health, he has to start taking into cognizance the health of his neighbors. And what are his neighbors? Man has to start respecting the environment he lives in because of climate change. Man has to start respecting the animals that he lives with. And man has to start respecting the plants or the things that he eats. Because the health of man is directly related to the health of plants around it, directly related to the health of animals around it, and is very directly related to the environment with which he lives. So the issue of health has gone beyond, I'm sick, I'm going to the doctor. The issue of health is when everybody is healthy, then man will be healthy. When everybody is sick, then man will be sick. So that is the issue of One Health. The concept of One Health is a transdisciplinary concept that brings together the health of human beings, the health of animals, and the health of our shared environment. So what is One Health? One Health is a collaborative effort of multiple discipline working together to attain optimal health for humans, animals, and our environment. Expanded One Health encompasses any issue related to human, animal, and environmental health. Why do you have to have One Health? Why not just continue to develop the skills of doctors and let doctors continue to treat as many people that are sick? The issue of One Health has become very important because human population is growing and expanding into new geographic areas. Human beings have, over the years, like I say, monopolizing, or they've gone into territories that were not human territories. Human beings naturally colonizing the whole world, not taking into cognizance the animals, that this world is not meant for humans alone, that we have neighbors. We've gone into the wide, clear road, clear bushes, clear forest, and these living things that are living in those forests, the animals, the plants, the spirits, and all those kind of things that are living in the forest, they have a way of fighting back. Because like they will say, the forest is a natural reservoir of infectious diseases. Animals are natural carriers of different kinds of diseases. And as you clear their natural habitats, you move into the habitats, you get closer to these animals, it becomes extremely easy for these animals to transmit what they carry to you. As you get close to, as you destroy these trees, you call the trees and you call the almost everything, then it becomes easy for the insects and for the microorganisms, the bacteria that are residents in their own natural habitats to get across to you. And that is why in recent years, 3 out of 5 of every emerging infectious diseases is from animal source. Whether Ebola, whether Lassa fever, whether monkey fever, or monkeypox rather, whether the COVID that we're fighting now, almost every emerging infectious disease is as a result of human beings encroaching into habitats that are not theirs and carrying the good, the bad, of the and the ugly that are residents in those habitats. So because human populations are growing and expanding at new geographic areas, more people live in close contact with wild and domestic animals.
Please, we have about 3 minutes more.
Oh, so I'll spend 30 minutes.
No, the time has changed. We're
It
supposed
has
to end
changed.
by 5:45.
Oh,
Is what I got.
so how many minutes do I have more now?
Just give me 3 minutes.
Give me 6.
5. So we can take questions.
Okay, fine. So these are, like I was saying, 60% of human infectious diseases are from animal source. 75% of emerging infectious diseases are from animal source. So this shows the linkage between human diseases and animal diseases. What are the benefits of One Health? Improving animal and human health through collaboration amongst health scientists or health science, solving health challenges, border health challenges, and developing careers and centers in transdisciplinary activities. Key factors for sustainability of One Health. One Health is easy when you speak it, but the application of One Health is not always easy. This is because in our world, we are used to working in silos. Environment doing their thing, health doing their thing, agri doing their thing. But One Health is a transdisciplinary issue where you have to break down those barriers and those silos to be able to effectively implement the One Health agenda. Threat to implementing One Health: existing institutional environment, people working in silo, governance and infrastructure that needs to be broken down, stakeholders' behavior, people showing I'm the head or the boss here. Funding, very important. Limited understanding of the concepts. People have to start thinking transdisciplinary. Leadership and human resources, cultural practice, and time consuming. Yeah? So these are there's some policy recommendation for Lagos State in One Health. And the first one, Lagos State should promote and strengthen transdisciplinary collaboration and partnership in One Health approach. And this can be done through establishing a framework, ensure clear information sharing strategy among One Health stakeholders, and create awareness for target groups on One Health approach. Lagos State should strengthen capacity and promote applied research at the health, human, and ecosystem interface. Research is very important when it comes to One Health. Lagos State should develop integrated zoonotic disease surveillance. This can be done through promoting joint preparedness, surveillance, and response to zoonotic diseases, strengthening laboratory capacity, and invest in interministerial and intersectoral funding of One Health projects and programs. I just put this together as an example of One Health framework from the Commissioner for Health, Environment, and Agri coming together, forming a One Health technical group. Then we can do coordinated surveillance, and it goes right down to the local governments. Then how can we build strategies in hospitals, climate smart hospitals? Climate smart hospitals are hospitals that reduce their emission to climate change, enhance or reduce pollution, both water pollution, and reduce the amount of waste, effectively manage waste that hospitals produce. Adaptation strategies for health sectors, establish an effective climate response unit in the Ministry of Health. Health issues or climate change issue is not an environment issue, or an environment issue rather. It affects every sector of the economy. So we should not just have climate change in the environment sector, health sector, transport sector too should talk about climate change. And they should have a response unit in their ministries. Other adaptation strategies are recommended. Other ones, then air pollution, how we can reduce air pollution, sustain investment. We need rail, we need climate smart transportation, public transport, using alternative sources of energy to improve waste management. Adaptation to sea level rise. Adaptation to waste management.
10 seconds more, please.
Adaptation to climate smart agriculture. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause for him. We can do better, please. Dr. Obade, thank you very much. Sure. Thank you very much. Can I ask, have you learned something new? I have learned something new. I've learned about One Health. Thank you very much. Please, are there any questions from anybody? Questions? Any questions? Yes, sir. Please, can you give me the mic, please?
You said? Okay, fine.
Okay.
Please just give us your name and go to your question. And
My
your
name is
presentation.
Babatunde Taiwo. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bobadoye. Yeah, you made mention of this One Health. Thank you for that explanation. Yeah, is there a role for antimicrobial resistance, the pharmaceutical world, into this One Health approach? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Like, you know, antimicrobial resistance is one of the biggest health issues we're having now in the world. For those of us that don't understand what AMR means, it means human beings or animals becoming resistant to antibiotics and other drugs as a result of misuse. So One Health AMR is very important in One Health, because one of the biggest challenges we're having even with AMR is the misuse of drugs, not just in human beings, but also in animals. Let me give you an example. You know, if you've ever had a poultry business, you know that they give them a whole of drugs and things like that. And there's something they call withdrawal period. That if you inject your animal or your bird with antibiotics in the morning, you're supposed to give it some time, maybe days for the drug to pass through the system. But one of the biggest issues we're having is that can see a farmer inject his bird in the morning and kill and send to the market in the evening. So you still have a whole lot of bacterial load in that bird that a human being will consume, and that antibiotics in the bird that the human being consumes start building a level of resistance in that human being without knowing. So if the human being comes down with a bacterial infection, just discover that you start using the normal antibiotics that normally that should heal or should work for that human being. discover that it's not working. Because human beings have a whole lot of resistance built up in it as a result of different forms of misuse of drugs, either directly by himself or misuse without knowing. So AMR is one of the main issues when it comes to One Health.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bade. I want to ask a question. Now, we've spoken so much about the Lagos having small landmass. We have spoken also so much, educating us about the way forward, the problems that are at hand. And we are talking about strengthening the human, animal, and environment infrastructure. I mean, with all what you have said, I will think back to, let's say, I want to say olden days, maybe the time of my parents or wherever, where every household had a garden. Most households had chickens and everything. I mean, behind their backyard, some even had goats. We read that some even did their milking of their animals for their milk and everything. I mean, with all those things, is there a way we can incorporate that today in Lagos? Because for the common man, we've said so much now, but breaking it down for the common man, what is the way forward? For the common Lagosian, every man on the street, the women on the roads, those who are vulnerable, all these issues about One Health, what is the way forward?
Yeah, you mentioned about in those days when people reared chicken and reared all those kind of things. But well, you agree with me, what is the cost of a per square meter of land in Lagos State today?
Overpopulation?
Overpopulation. So land is opportunity cost. In those days, the population was not much, so you can afford to create a small thing for maybe a poultry or a garden or something. But now every land is useful in Lagos State. In fact, some houses you can almost jump from one window and jump into another person's sitting room in the other side. So our population is becoming a big issue in this city, and there's nothing we can do about that for now. But there's something we can do. As human beings and as individuals, we can become responsible. Responsible in the way we dispose our waste, which you can do. You can say, I will start recycling my waste. You can say, I will not dump refuse where I shouldn't. You can say, I will not throw paper on the road through what's it called? While driving, just roll down. These are little things we can do. You can say, instead of using generator 24/7, solar panels are becoming cheaper. These are alternative sources of energies. These are things we can do as individuals to at least reduce our own carbon footprint and contribute to reducing emission gases in Lagos State. And also this directly and indirectly enhance adaptation in the city.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there another question from anybody? Yes, sir. Please, can we pass the mic to him? Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Dr. Olayinka Iroko. What moderator just mentioned is what we call, in our ecosystem, we call it home garden or urban forestry. But you discover in Lagos, probably because of the land and what have you, you are causing more havoc, like the refinery that is about to be set up. We are complaining of being under sea level, and automatically we are not looking at environmental impact assessment of that project. What is it going to cost? But simply because of money involved or economic drive, nobody is looking at that side. Because automatically the aquatic organism there, their demand, oxygen demand will be drastically reduced. Automatically it's going to bring high temperature in the water. Most of this ecosystem is actually will be disbalanced, which we call eco-balance. Now the function is, most of this, our problem is man-made. Is we that do it. But I can see from the last presentation, he was talking about One Health. If you are talking about One Health, that means the hospital we're about to set up, let us have a role, planting trees, having our home garden there. Because you discover bats is one of these birds that come around with their disease. When they are coming, they won't have much interaction with human being. They will just be on the trees, perching there. Then another thing, finally, when you look at Lagos, they are planting trees. But is that how to plant trees? If you are coming towards, before you get on the third mainland bridge, most of these plant species they are using is not what they hope to plant. They are planting a Longifera oleifera. Those plants, they just grow, drop. They are not providing shade. But automatically, they can plant some of these fruit trees. As I'm talking to you, the oil palm is more expensive in the world market than our crude oil. In Epe, Axis, and so, those plants, they do well, they thrive well. They could use it as ornamental, and at the end of the day, to bring even revenue when they harvest that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Do we have any other question or any comments or any addition? Well, we still have about 5 minutes more. And I will just make a brief, yes? Ms. Safi, no, yes. Your name and your organization.
Yes, please. Good afternoon. Thank you for the presentation, Dr. Babadoye. I'm Afinori Subaru Azizat from the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources. I want to comment on what the last speaker just mentioned about last park and planting of trees. He made mention of the trees that were planted on the highway. And I beg to disagree that on the highway, even if we say fruit trees are good, it won't be nice on the highway. So the kind of trees that are being planted on the highway also matters. The kind of trees that are being planted there needs not to disrupt the landscape of that place, the road, so that it doesn't road infrastructure. So it's very important that the kind of trees we plant matters in as much as we are trying to reduce emission. So the places that we plant those trees actually matter. So that's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Apinawe. On the medians, we have all the ornamental trees that we can see them. But in other places, there are fruit trees and there are herb-bearing fruit trees also. Thank you very much. Is there another suggestion, any addition? We still have a few more minutes before we round up. Well, one thing I've taken out of this session is this. Our health as human beings depend on the plants, the animals around us. Do we agree with that? Yes. So my question is that, what is my role? What is your role to strengthen the environment? What role are you going to play to strengthen your environment? The speaker said, oh, we can talk about in those days. Now land in Lagos is scarce, but there's still land in Ekwe, there is land in Badagry, there is land in Ikorodu. Even some houses in GRA, all they have is, they have ornamental plants. They have flowers, they have gardens, which takes up the CO2 in the environment and gives them the O2 oxygen they need. Without oxygen in the environment, human beings were gone. Do we know that? We're gone. We're gone. That's just the simple, you should not mind seeing words. So we need the plants, we need the animals like we have been told today. What is the role I have to play? Because people can say, oh, government. He spoke about One Health. Yes, government will implement policies, but it boils down to the common man, to me and to you, advocating this policy, spreading this message, and the Lord will help us, I pray. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. A round of applause for our speaker one more time. Thank you very much. We can do better, please. Dr. Babadoye, thank you very much. Please, we converge back in the auditorium, and we do a recap for 3 minutes before we go. Thank you very much.